Morning, good morning. This is WFLT with Community Update. We're here live right now, but we want to make sure we do what we can always to be able to bless those who are in our listening environment. We want to make sure we say our prayers and give honor to God. One of the things that we want to make sure we do is put our arms around those that may be suffering this morning or have loved ones that may be sick or have lost loved ones. We definitely want to make sure we do that. And Vanessa, are you available to do the prayer this morning, or do we need to push it to Dr. Reynolds for this morning's prayer?
I'm available, whatever you like, Mayor.
Okay. Well, Dr. Reynolds, you haven't been with us for a while. What, do you want? You feel comfortable this morning to deliver the prayer?
Oh, yes, because we're definitely in need of prayer.
All right. Well, Dr. Reynolds, go ahead.
Heavenly Father, we ask you to continue to guide us and protect us so that we make the decisions that help those who need services, Lord. We ask that our officials act with integrity, Lord, and we ask that you assist those families who are standing for reasonable pay, Lord, and good benefits on the UAW line. These things we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Today we have an extended show for you today, and as we put everybody together, we have some great information about healthcare and about making sure the promises of tomorrow is amongst us. And so we have great individuals with a lot of good information. Today joining us is Dr. Mona Atisha, the person that has done a great justice for our community and those that have been suffering that came in contact, negative contact with lead. But now she has a new program that we're working through that's been partnered from the philanthropic communities as well as the state of Michigan, and we're trying to partner with the city of Flint, and it's called RX Kids. And Dr. Mona, can you talk a little bit about RX Kids and what that is?
Sure, Mayor Neeley. It's great to be on the show. Good morning to everybody. A huge hug to my buddy, Dr. Reynolds, who's on the line as well, who is a partner on this effort. So RX Kids is so exciting, and I'm so thrilled to share this with everybody listening today. This is something that has never been done before in the nation. We do amazing things in Flint, and we do them well, and we share them. And this is something that is going to quickly spread throughout the state and the nation. So RX Kids is this really simple idea of supporting our families during the most economically vulnerable time in their lives with cash. So we're not telling people to sign up for a program or get a backpack during this time or go to some place and get a meal only when it's open here. We are giving families what they need and for them to decide how best to care for themselves and their family. So our Kids is a universal and unconditional mom and baby cash allowance program. Every mom in pregnancy will get a one-time cash allowance of $1,500 in mid-pregnancy. And then once the baby is born, they get $500 a month for that first year of life. So this pregnancy, infancy time period is when families are the poorest. And this is also the most important time for the development of a child. So we are trying to disrupt poverty, we are trying to improve equity, and we are trying to promise our children that they have the opportunity and potential to succeed in life. So in a nutshell, that's what RX Kids is all about, and we're hoping to start in early 2024.
Right, and so some of the things and some of the questions that come about because I call it the penalties of being the first, right? The penalties of being the first is that when you're the first to do anything, right? You're penalized because no one has ever done it before. So you're building the roadmap, and then also corrections and improvements are going to be made along the way. But it's almost a penalty of being the first, but it's also the being a pioneer and to set out on this journey. So you said it's a one-time payment, and this is for Flint families, right? This is only Flint families, and so we're talking about cash allowances for Flint families to be able to interrupt poverty, the line of poverty, especially for our children. And so this has so many great things that could happen and could spin out of this. Now, but it's a one-time cash allowance of $1,500 for a Flint pregnant mother, correct?
Yep.
And then after
one time. Yep. And then once the baby is born, it's $500 a month for that first year of life. The pregnancy allowance goes to the mom, and the baby allowance follows the baby. So if there's a different guardian, it follows wherever the baby goes. But it's a total of $7,500 for the mom and baby.
Right. And so, but the cash allowance follows the baby after the baby's born. So it'd be $500 additional a month to go for the care of that baby. So how long does the program is projected to last?
Yeah, that's a great question. But I want to touch on something you mentioned, because Flint we're pioneers. We do things, and we spark change all over. And Dr. Reynolds mentioned the UAW strike, and I think it's really important to kind of reflect on that moment of history and kind of where we are now. We all know the UAW was born in Flint because of the resistance and the loyalty, the pride and the vision of auto workers who were demanding a fair share of prosperity. And there's a picture from the 1930s which I love, and it's Flint kids. It's Flint kids holding up signs saying, our dads are are demanding better wages and we're gonna win. But there's a sign that one Flint kid is holding that says, "Give us a chance for better food and a better life." So this is a sign from the 1930s, Flint sit-down strikes, when the UAW was born, that says, "Give us a chance for better food and a better life." This is the same thing that the UAW strikers are demanding now, but this is the same thing that we're trying to accomplish with our kids. We are hoping to provide our families with better food and ultimately a better life. So the struggle continues, and just like we succeeded in the 1930s, we are going to win again, not just in this current strike, but hopefully with our kids. So your question was, how long does this last? So the funding that we are trying to, the goal that we're trying to reach is to be able to do this for 5 years. The state of Michigan has given us money to partially fund the first 4 allowances. So the state of Michigan, through something that has never been done before, using TANF dollars, which is the Temporary Assistance for Needy Families dollars. This is kind of the cash assistance program in the state, which has really historically been a racist program, an exclusionary program, a reactive program. We convinced the state to support RX kids in a very inclusive, holistic, dignified, preventative way. So the state of Michigan is supporting the prenatal allowance and the first 3 infant allowances for 5 years, which is amazing. It's unreal, and it's never been done before. It really speaks to the commitment that the state has for Flint and for what we can spark in Flint. So we are hoping to do this program, and we're raising money to be able to do this for 5 years of moms and newborns.
Well, it's amazing, and it takes a lot of, imagination to be able to create things and innovation that's going to change the landscape of the way we live and the quality of life for families. And I want to commend you for that. But I want people to understand what this is, and the audience on WFLT that's going to be listening to us for another 45 minutes about what we're doing and how this is going to impact us positively moving forward. I told you and Dr. Reynolds, and you understand this, the babies are a promise of our tomorrow. And so we have to be able to do things to support this. It's far too often that things take priority emotionally about all the political fighting and all the things that go on. But I want every listener to this broadcast on our social page, as well as our radio listeners, to be able to weigh in on what is good. Dr. Martin Luther King had a quote that says, "It's not the words of our enemies that we will remember, but it's the silence of our friends." And right now we're petitioning our friends to be able to weigh in on great programs like this. Now we know that programs like this, these cutting edge programs, will help and support families. It'll support life and living. And so our kids, so far the state of Michigan has bought in onto this first time program type that we're going to be helping Flint families. The philanthropic community has weighed in and put their money where their mouth is, helping Flint families. And as administration, the city of Flint, this mayor is trying to weigh in to put money for Flint families. This city of Flint needs to be able to support this programming with our American Rescue Plan dollars. It's a proposal in front of Flint City Council, and it's been there for the better part of a month, trying to weigh in to support Flint families. Now, we're going to transition just a bit, Dr. Mona. I got Dr. Reynolds here to talk about, what happens in communities of challenge, communities of color, how this really represents life in our community. The infant mortality ratio, and what infant mortality ratio means is that black and brown babies die in this country 4 times more than babies not of color. 4 times. And I've witnessed it grow from 3 to 1 to 4 to 1 as we advance in our society. We don't know what the cause of these things are, but we definitely know in a laboratory we have to experiment many times over to try to figure out. It could be the stress of a mother saying, I don't know how I'm going to support this baby or my family. It could be bad food. It could be many different things, but this program has the potential to help save a life. Go ahead, Dr. Mona.
Yeah, absolutely. This is why we're doing this. This is why it's targeted and why it starts in pregnancy. We want to make a dent in those disparities, the racial and geographic disparities that impact our moms and babies, maternal morbidity and mortality, infant mortality, low birth weight, prematurity, NICU admission, child development, and everything that happens in this prenatal to infancy window really impacts your whole life. It impacts how healthy you are later on in life, your achievement later on in life, and even things like your life expectancy. So whatever we do in this critical window to mitigate, to buffer those disparities, which are very alarming, and the root is racism. The root is we have not cared, for our black and brown communities historically and systemically. But RX Kids is a way to reverse that. A lot of this is about cash, but it's also sending a strong message that you are seen, that you are heard, that you are loved, and that there is a village walking alongside you. It is hard to be pregnant. It is hard to raise a baby. Babies are expensive. It's exhausting. Moms lose income. It's so hard. And once again, this is the poorest time in people's lives. So we need to be a village that is walking alongside families. And the village has stepped up. The state has stepped up. Philanthropy has stepped up. And now we need the city to step up and be part of that village and to stand alongside so many folks saying for families that we are here to support you.
And we want to thank those city council people that are in support of this. We want to thank Liddell Lewis. We want to thank Candace Mashat. We want to thank Quincy Murphy. We want to thank these individuals that are standing in support of this type of activity. But definitely you need to weigh in and give a call to your city council, 766-7418, 766-7418. We all heard it says it takes a village to save a child, but it also takes a village to save a village. We are tired of seeing disruptions and stall tactics to be able to keep suffering going because of political things. If you don't like me as a mayor, fine, just say you don't like me, but don't stop progress for this community, and we've had a lot of it. We talk about I call it death by zip code, and I'm sure Dr. Reynolds will definitely have a better on-site with that, but definitely people that live in the 48505, the 48504, they have less life expectancy, and this is by studies, than people who live in Fenton or Flushing. And Doctor, can you talk about that, Dr. Reynolds? Can you talk about a little bit about that and about the zip codes in which we live in sometimes shortens our lifespan?
Oh, yes. Well, let's be clear. Many times the zip code in which we live is not by choice, but by a practice of a history of redlining, which restricts where people of color can live, by practices by banks where they don't give home improvement loans or mortgage loans depending on what you look like or where you live. And then it's the zip code, keep in mind, is for business. It helps businesses decide where they're going to locate. And you think I just went off, on an angle, but businesses include the grocery store where you shop, the bank or credit union where you try to put your money. And if you have been discriminated, if your zip code has been discriminated upon for decades, those opportunities are limited, either for services or employment. Then we look at something as basic as where you start. If you look at infant mortality in Genesee County, you will see that 53.7%, specifically for fetal infant mortality, 53.7% of the deaths are among African Americans, although in Genesee County, we are about 14 to 15% of the population. And then if you look at the maps where most people of color live, you will see that the death rate is higher. You'll see the opportunity rate is lower. And you don't have to take my word for it. I encourage everybody to check the Neighborhood Atlas, which is a nationwide map of zip codes that shows the disparities in advantages across the United States. And you just go to mapping and pull up the state of Michigan, and then you can expand it, and you will see by color, Flint is in the area where we have the most disadvantaged block groups. And that means access to services, access to good food, access to good schools, access to equal protection under the law. Just take a look. And if you look at that map, you will see Flint is right dead center in the the southern lower peninsula, and there's a trend. Wherever there is a larger community population of color, be it African American, be it of any other nationality, be it the indigenous people of the United States, and be it some rural areas, we are hit the hardest, which means you have the highest rate of cigarette smoking. You have the highest rate of substance use issues. These are issues related to access for services. You have higher rates of obesity. You have shorter lifespans. You have lower educational achievement. And this is a consistent pattern. And to go back to RX Kids, this is what makes this program so exciting. You know, you've heard the definition of crazy, where you do things the same way all the time and you expect a different result. Well, this time it's time to break that pattern and do something different. And I would like to share with you all what it takes to recover from a temporary job loss. You know, people think because of COVID or because of a strike or because of losing a job, you lose it for 6 months and everything's going to be all right when your first paycheck arrives. No, we are still in recovery. But there's data from the Brookings Institute that shows even 5 to 10 years later, a family has not recovered from job loss and income loss. It's not like you get your first paycheck 2 weeks after you start all over again and everything's all right. It takes time. Now imagine you are a mother or a family who is out on, well, I should say not out on maternity leave, but must take maternity leave. We don't pay for that service in the United States. And why is that? You know, we invest in offshore drilling. We invest in, battery plants. But do we invest in our children? Do we invest in our families? And these are the rest of the choices that we have to make. Those other choices are critical. However, investing in families is where we build the strength of this community and this nation.
You know, Dr. Reynolds, as we talk about the original sins of this country, slavery, poverty, discriminatory actions, you know, some of these things have been rewrapped for today's time in 2023. We still talk about infant mortality ratios, maternal mortality ratios. We talk about incarceration, lack of opportunities for jobs, and also businesses in our community. How do we really engage this? And I'm telling you, as a social-minded faith administration, that's who I am. I'm a strong faith-believing man. I am a social-minded individual. That comes, I bring that with me to the running of this city government. But definitely, we need to put down the level of strife that causes us to divide and not prosper. We got more than 290 churches inside the city of Flint. And then we have to look at the definitions of Christian or atheist, and then find out what patterns are we really going toward. More of a Christians or atheists. We can talk it, but we definitely have to walk what we're going to be doing. This program for working kids, and this is a great thing. I never thought about it before Dr. Mona brought it up. And then she brought it up with a charge and said, let's get this done for our families. We can talk about the criticism that goes on each and every day. We can talk about the self-inflicted wounds. But when we fail to help ourselves because of political strife or whatever it may be, it's a shame, and it's a shame on us. And so, we talk about these things, and we talk about housing. Right now we're cleaning up our city. We're demoing all the vacant and abandoned structures. But it's a shame for when I get a call as a mayor saying we found a body in one of the structures we're gonna knock down. It's terrible. Last night, a 2-year-old child was struck while in their home by a bullet by people not driving by shooting, Dr. Reynolds. They rode bikes and stopped in front of the house and then fired in the house. We're still looking for those individuals, but we will get you. We caught 2 of the 3 already within a 2-hour period. And that third, guess what? We're coming for you. And by Monday, if we don't have you, I'm putting a bounty out for you and whoever, you're somebody's son, you're somebody's brother, somebody's cousin, but we'll put a bounty out for you to get you. But true innocence is our children. That 2-year-old child that was struck, and we want to pray for that family. The child is battling right now. True innocence. But definitely, we have a conscious effort to be able to do something for our families and mothers that may be going through, and also to be able to put a subsidy to help break the trends of poverty and being disenfranchised. And housing's next. Once we clear this landscape of the blight and the structures, we're going to rebuild this, and I'm going to shift into the next segment, and then we'll circle back into RX Kids and then what I call Death by Zip Code. Catholic Charities has been doing great works in our community for many, many, many years, and I'm going to kick it over to Vanessa to be able to introduce our guests from Catholic Charities to talk about the great work they're doing, and also talk about a vision to be able to construct new homes and new places in our community. Vanessa?
Good morning to our listening audience. Such an impactful and powerful broadcast thus far. Thanks to both our doctors for being on and sharing such needed information, and just to awaken us to what's really happening in our city and how we must be engaged. Here at the City of Flint, I get so many calls from our residents saying, hey, what's happening? I need my council person to do this. I need my council person to do this. Somebody needs to say something. And let me just affirm this. You are that somebody. Your voice needs to be heard at our council meeting. Your voice needs to be heard calling your council person direct. Develop your own community meeting and stand up and say, hey, what's happening is awful. We don't want to see it. We want to continue to move our city forward. So thank you to those individuals who are a part of that. This morning, as Mayor alluded to, I want to introduce to some and represent to others Catholic Charities own Katie Baxter, who's the CEO. There are some great developments happening in partnership with Katie and some other community partners. Good morning so much. Thank you, Katie, so much for joining us, and good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You guys have some great and exciting news and developments. Well, first of all, let me just say thank you for the continued work that Catholic Charities does with our in our community already. There are so many resources available to our community via Catholic Charities. I am a mother of twin daughters. I pray for my daughters. I didn't have to, birth my daughters, thank God. But they were in foster care in Michigan, and here locally, met them at my church. And one of the things that I had to do, first of all, was go through my pride lessons. And pride class started at Catholic Charities. And so after I finished those classes, because of some of the issues and trauma that my daughters had dealt with, we had to do therapy and all of those family meetings. All that happened right there at Catholic Charities. So I have always been just a champion and a supporter of Catholic Charities because you guys do a lot of good work. And coming up now, you're helping change the landscape of our community as it relates to housing. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for saying that about Catholic Charities. Catholic Charities has been around for over 80 years providing food and clothing and therapy and education, adoption, foster care. We have pro-leave programs. Now we're the housing assessment and resource agency. So there's so many things we do because that's what we do is meet people where they are with faith, compassion, and service. So thank you so much for saying that. We're very excited about a new project that we have, what we're calling our Sacred Heart Tiny Home Village. It's a transitional program for veterans, and it involves supporting veterans who, when they come back from their service duty, sometimes are really dealing with a lot of issues. People are familiar, for the most part, with post-traumatic stress disorder or PTSD. Many times, individuals in the military have a lot of difficulty. The military does a good job at training people for their job to do what they do in the military, but that transition home can be very difficult for some of our veterans. And homelessness is an issue for many veterans. And we at Catholic Charities and so many other people see the injustice of that, of individuals who have served our country and have put their life on the line, and they come home and they've got a myriad of problems and challenges they're dealing with the transition into the culture, and they struggle and end up with mental health issues, behavioral health issues, substance abuse, depression, anxiety, PTSD, difficulty obtaining a job, acclimating back into the community, and they're really struggling, and many end up homeless. So Catholic Charities wants to be a part of that because that's what we do. We support people where they are and try to help people have better lives for them and provide the support we can. So we're very excited about this program. We expect to start the program, the foundation on our Sacred Heart property, which is across from our North End Soup Kitchen that many are familiar with. At North End Soup Kitchen, we serve meals 365 days of the year, 2 meals a day, and 1 on Sunday, even on holidays. So across from our North End Soup Kitchen, we have the Sacred Heart property. Many people in the community remember when the Sacred Heart Church was there. It hasn't been there for many years. We want to utilize that land to help other people. So we expect to have 24 or 25 tiny homes that will be built on that property. There will be a large community center there. The community center will be available not only for the veterans living in the transitional tiny homes, but also for veterans in the surrounding community. And it'll include therapy groups, individual therapy, AA meetings, recovery meetings, financial literacy, employment services, access to other entitlements, working with the Veterans Administration on the resources that veterans could tap into. And so helping these kind of some wraparound services to help veterans acclimate, heal, and eventually move on their own and live in their own independent setting. So it's a transitional program for about 1 to 3 years. So we're really excited about it.
Mayor Neeley, I want to bring you in on this. Katie, while this is such an exciting program, but since the onset of our administration, the mayor has been very supportive of all of our veterans and active in seeking out supportive services and working with organizations. But once again, here we are, a first in our community. Mayor, let's talk about what this means for you as mayor and seeing this happen right here in our city.
Well, what happens is that it takes a village to save a village. You heard me say that. So we followed the mantra of prayer, planning, and partnership. Prayer, planning, and partnership. We pray for it, we plan for our success, and then we look for our partners. MTA has been a great partner for transit systems and making sure that we are environmentally just in the way we advance our transportation model inside the city of Flint and also the county of Genesee. Catholic Charities has been a partner on the landscape that's been used but not lightly engaged with that friendship model that we all need, because we know people that need the level of help and resources that they provide, but we can actually point people in that direction to be able to get them the help that they need. You know, the partnership, looking at new innovative technologies and things that we're doing in a way that we're moving our communities forward with RX Kids and Dr. Mona, with the registry for kids that have been negatively impacted by lead in their water. But now also, how do we take the next generation and support them to be able to have longer lives? You know, doctors like Dr. Reynolds, who guided us through our pandemic and made sure we saved lives and that we didn't die and perish to COVID-19, that we were able to sustain life and then close the disparity health gap, because COVID-19 exposed the world to the disparities in healthcare across this country and across our nation. But definitely, I need like-minded thinkers in government. We have a strong form of mayor government here in this town. I served as a city council person for 9 years, longer than anyone is currently there. So I know how to operate from that aspect. I served in the state legislature as a minority, and in a minority, I was a Democrat in a Republican-controlled environment, but we were able to work with our Republican partners to be able to get some things done for our communities and for our families. And now as mayor. But definitely, the level of strife has reached an all-time high. I talked about 290 churches being here, and that means faith leaders. At least 290 faith leaders are inside the city of Flint. But we definitely need to be able to talk about what is going on in the star tactics based upon the root of politics. But the Bible tells us, Vanessa, and you know this as a pastor and as a minister, that we fight not against flesh and blood, but it's principalities and spirits that we have to evacuate from our community. And so, really, we talk about, the appearance of Christianity, but the actions by atheist activity, right? And so we need all the people that we need to come to bear to be able to start pushing and pushing the clog through the system so we can get to be able to support our children. And I gave earlier in the first half an hour of our broadcast words from a great Dr. Martin Luther King. And he said, and I repeat again, it's not the words of our enemies that we'll remember, but it's the silence of our friends. And so we need more of our friends to be able to speak out against the things that you witness each and every day. I was kind of ashamed that when Dr. Mona has been to at least 3 city council meetings to be able to give information about the potential benefits of RX Kids. And each one of those meetings, it left in failure, not just for this particularly trying to disseminate information, but for all city business. And we look at it, and we look at the lowest common denominator of a community, and that is not our standard. We see now that, kids, I say often, Vanessa, and you heard this before, they cannot become what they cannot see, but they will reflect what they can see. We saw on Facebook and social media, one of our local schools, that a young child hurtled in a chair that struck a teacher. And then we all said, oh my God, we got, this is a shame. It didn't just happen at that moment that chair was picked up and hurled, but it could have been started when that child was born, and that innocent child was placed upon a trajectory that was not that led him to hurtling in that chair. And so, but what we want to do is put out there in broad ways all the good news that we have, and one of the broad things that we've been doing is talk about Good News Flint. We have more good news happening in town, and we can show our kids, and so they can use the reflection of the good news and the pride that we have. The highest point in the city of Flint is our water tower. We put a message of hope in the horizon and changed it to the landscape of baby blue like our sky. Flint strong is who we are. We're not a community of victims, but we are victors. We need you to pick up the mantle and speak to that, and speak to the dysfunction that we see each and every day. Kristen, are you with us? Can you talk about Good News Flint?
Yes, I am enjoying the show. This has been like a great to hear about everything going on. But as you said, we are doing Good News Flint. It's something that we've been working on for a few months now, and because there is so much good news and good things happening in the city of Flint. Oftentimes people say there is nothing good going on. Flint's still, down and out. But that's really not the case. We have so much content, so many great things to cover, that it's really been successful. So if you're out there and you haven't seen it on Facebook or on Instagram, check it out. Like, even if it doesn't pop up in your feed, go to the City of Flint website or go to the City of Flint Facebook page or Instagram page, and you can see all the different reports that we're doing just to help promote the good, positive stories happening in the City of Flint. Because no one just wants to hear about, the negative about someone we love or something we love, like the City of Flint. We want to hear about the good stuff too. And so that's what we're trying to do, just promoting the good things happening in the city. Like the Ashley Capital project, for years, for decades, the old Buick City site vacant. But now there is life there. Building is happening, and you can see that growth. And it's exciting to not just see the growth, but know that jobs will be coming to the north side of Flint. And probably stores and restaurants will come as well. So there's just a lot of things happening, and that's what we're doing. We're just trying to promote some of the good things happening in the city of Flint.
Well, Krista, go ahead and explain who you are, and because you are a Flint kid as well, and a great wife and a great mother to your family. But go ahead and give a little bit about your chronology and how you got to where you are, and why you're the face of our Good News Flint.
Well, yes, I'm Kristen Morris, born and raised in the city of Flint. I went to Whittier. I graduated from Flint Central. Go Indians. Don't hate Mayor Neeley. And then I'm just the kind of person, I've kind of always had the gift for gab. So I went into journalism. I got my degree from Florida A&M in Tallahassee. Go Rattlers. Then, started working at various news stations. I worked in Atlanta as a news producer. I worked in North Carolina. Then, once I started having kids, I had to come back home where my village is. And then, I worked at TV5 for about 4 years, and then kind of branched out from there. So, kind of journalism is kind of what I do. I love telling stories. I like, learning about people and kind of sharing that information. And again, like when you talk about, and we watch the news, a lot of times, we have this old saying, if it bleeds, it leads. So yes, a lot of people don't watch the news because of that fact. They just don't want to hear all the negative stories all the time. So, we're doing something different. There are good things happening, and so we're promoting the good things happening in the city of Flint.
And that's wonderful. Go to the cityofflint.com webpage, and we can look at the Good News Flint. And also you can pick it up on other places on Facebook pages. But you all have the benefit of seeing all the great things that's happening. We paved Welch Boulevard, DuPont, Home Avenue, Mackin Road. We're redoing the bricks downtown and all the festivity activities that are going on. We made Juneteenth a holiday before the nation even recognized it for over a year. We're doing great things, but definitely we need more help now. We're looking for our partners, Vanessa. We're looking for them to come aboard. And I know Ed Benning is on the line with us as well, and he's doing great things in our transportation area, non-medical emergency transport units, Your Ride, bus systems, and now the new technology with hydrogen fuel. The governor came here to highlight what we're doing here in Flint, Michigan, and Genesee County with our hydrogen fuel technology. And many people don't understand what that is, right? We're loosening our dependencies on fossil fuels and petroleum-based fuels, and we're moving to more technologies, and we're doing it with our transportation unit. Mr. Benning, are you with us? Okay, I guess, Vanessa, is he on the line?
I don't know. Katie, were you able to get Mr. Benning on?
I'm sorry, I don't think I was able to connect. I think he was having some phone connection issues.
Well, we can go ahead and brag about what's happening. I served on the MTA board for about 7 years, but now we're loosening our dependencies on fossil fuel technologies as we're looking and recognizing, as we put the world on wheels. Now we're putting the world powered by batteries, and that's what they're doing a lot in our General Motors and our motor industry. But in our local transportation areas, we put our buses on hydrogen fuel technology. And so we're loosening our dependence from about 200,000 gallons of diesel fuel to about maybe 40,000 gallons to hydrogen fuel technology, and we're making sure our environment is much better and much stronger as a byproduct of that. And we're doing it right here in the city of Flint, where we can go out and advocate for these things. But now I need you from your living room, from your church pew, from your classroom, from wherever you may be, advocate for your city and fight for your city with a victim mind, not with a victim mindset, but with a victor's mindset. A victor's mindset. Look to the horizon and look at our water tower where it says Flint Strong. Let's move our communities forward. Swinging back to be able to help the most vulnerable in our community, which is our babies. And we said it before, they are the promise of our future. Going back to Dr. Mona with RX Kids, we explained to what this is. Now, Dr. Mona, now, the qualifications for this is just to be pregnant and to have a young infant, toddler. Is there any other things that will restrict people from being a part of this program?
What's that?
I said, well, the qualifications for the program, we know you have to be a pregnant mother, have a toddler.
Yep.
But is there anything that prohibits people from getting into these type of programs beyond that? Because people always say, well, I never would qualify. It doesn't benefit me.
Yeah.
But who?
Yeah.
But go ahead and tell them.
Yeah, that's the beauty of this program. It's pretty simple. You just have to be a resident of the city of Flint. So, Mayor, I'm hoping people are going to move in the city because for this program. I'm hoping our population will increase. So you just have to be a resident of the city of Flint, and you have to be pregnant. So once it launches in 2024, if you are pregnant or if there's a baby born in 2024 and you live in the city of Flint, you will be eligible. So there is no income test. There's no means testing. And that's what really sets this apart from so many other services out there. This is universal. This is for every mom and baby, pregnant mom and baby in the city of Flint. And it's sending a strong message of love and that this is how we are supposed to care for each other. This work is also about kind of rebuilding that social contract. And a social contract is this kind of concept of how we're supposed to care for each other, how government really is supposed to care for us. And in Flint, that contract's kind of been on shaky ground. It's been a little rocky. It's been severed, not just because of the Flint water crisis, but really years of disinvestment and neglect and racism. And we're hoping that this program, Our Kids, works to rebuild almost democracy, rebuild our relationship with government when government is a partner. And you talked about faith and you talked about all the negativity. And I want to also really reiterate that I also see this program, Our Kids, very much about love and how we love each other. The program is going to start in 2024, but the public launch is going to be on Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day is all about love. It's also Frederick Douglass's self-proclaimed birthday. Abolitionist, one of my heroes. He said, one of his most famous quotes, he said, it's better to build strong children than to repair broken men. So it's all about prevention. It's all about investing in our kids. Too often as a society, we deal with the consequences of broken men, of the Band-Aids, of our failure to invest in prevention. But this is all about building strong children. Valentine's Day is in February, which is also Black History Month. So we are leaning into love. We hope that this will help transform our city into not what the headlines show, but something that is historic and revolutionary and really foundationally based on how we love each other.
Right, and we have to really recognize and have a self level of love for one another. Love thy neighbor. It comes from the word, forgive others, for their trespasses as we ask God to forgive us for ours. We have to come a community of working together through a level of democracy. We have to do that and respect that. But definitely we have actors on the other side. As you know, we have heaven, there is a hell. And so we definitely need to make sure that we have our conduct in order to be able to definitely support true innocence. True innocence is our children of our community. Now, in order to repopulate the world, the earth, and the city of Flint, we have to have babies and we have to support them. Dr. Reynolds and myself, we are past the childbearing ages of our lives, so we need others to come here and we have to really fight for them to be here. And Dr. Reynolds, we talk about those things that we can do better in society to be able to help our health. As we look at kidney failure, heart disease, we talk about hypertension, high blood pressure. We talk about all these things, but we can do things to help ourselves in this environment. And Dr. Reynolds, go ahead and continue the dialogue to be able to give professional opinion about what is going on with our health and in our areas of challenge. May have lost Dr. Reynolds there. I'm not sure, but definitely,
Mayor?
yes.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to, if we could, just go back to Katie for just a moment, because I did not give her an opportunity to talk about those partners at all that's involved with this tiny home project and what the rollout date for beginning to build and what that time frame looks like. Can we just allocate just a couple more minutes for Katie, if you would, to give us that information?
Absolutely. Go ahead, Katie.
Sure, thank you. The timeline is, many of you may have seen that we did get initial grant from the Community Foundation to start this project and launch this project. And we worked with the Genesee Career Institute on building one of the tiny homes, and as well as an Amish group. So we have 2 homes built on our Root Street property across from our Center for Hope downtown there. So drive by sometime and see those. So that was the launch of the project. It's been going on for a few years. Our actual time to break ground is expected in the spring or summer of this next year. And we are very excited about it. We are hoping to receive our ARPA grant funds. And we have many other partners in our community who have stepped forward and want to support this effort. So we are very grateful to our community donors and partners, our board members, staff, and volunteers on this project, because it's a big project and it takes a lot of us to make this come to fruition.
Well, definitely, we want to be a supporter in that, but definitely we have to get beyond the stall tactics that are being played here in local government to be able to release the rest of the American Rescue Plan dollars. 50% of those dollars have already been released in good areas, good projects, economic development, growth, homeowner repair, water bill assistance programs, and many other things that we have in our PAL program. We're constructing a new football field, soccer field, and lacrosse field here in the city of Flint. Isn't that wonderful when we can add these things, these recreational opportunities for young people to be able to partake in, and also the investments in our senior centers. If you go over to Hasselbrink Senior Center, you know you're no longer driving on pothole filled parking lots, but work has been done. Next is to be launched is we're going to be working on sidewalks, where we're going to be working and fixing sidewalks throughout the city of Flint, repairing them at no cost to the residents. And so we're taking a look at our city, and where we're looking at is where we have broken crosswalks or sidewalks that has a trip edge of 2 inches or more. We'll be going into those areas. But definitely what you have seen in the city council, that chicanery that we see in it, that they stall, and it takes longer to get work done, because truly what it is, everyone doesn't have to support me as an administrator. Everyone doesn't have to like me. But definitely you should not stall and harm your neighbor and your friends as a byproduct of it. And that's what it is if you look around at the work that's being done inside the city of Flint, it is historic what we've done. Economic investment and development, more than $2 billion within a calendar year. Never been done before in the city of Flint. 6 collective bargaining units. And we know this to be true because, bargaining units really works to enhance the middle class, to get a livable wage for your families. And we have unions, and our largest unions is our UAW here in the city of Flint, because they gave birth and life to the middle class of America. Right now they're striking, and this administration stands fully in support of the UAW, and you heard it from me. I stand fully in support of the unions and the working man and woman here in this community. Now,
Mayor?
Yes.
Just so you know, I did get back Dr. Reynolds back on the line just whenever you're ready. Just wanted to interject that really quick.
Okay, I kick it to him just shortly. But unions here in the city of Flint, we have 6 collective bargaining units that work here in the city of Flint, from fire, police to ASME 1600 and 1799, captains and lieutenants. We have contracts with all of those collective bargaining units. Before I arrived, Some of those collective bargaining units hadn't had a contract in 10 years, a decade. But we gave them a contract. And also we gave them their largest wage increase in Flint's history. And it was owed to them. And it was owed to them partially because back in the early 2000s, Local 1600 here in the city of Flint took concessions. And so they came to work on a Monday, but they made less doing the same job on a Tuesday because they were made to take concessions. I never forgot about that. And so these working men and women had the right and the ability to be able to be increased to where they should have been. And we made that happen for them. And so we continue to grow our ranks in our law enforcement area, police and fire. We got 4 new apparatuses coming to the city of Flint, brand new fire trucks. They're being delivered. This is the stuff that we have to do. And in spite of the division that council has, we still need to get the more work done. I need you to help with the RX kids. And Dr. Reynolds, thank you for being available to come back again. But we were talking about populating the city of Flint with healthy children. And I made the observation that you and I are not making any new babies. So we need people to be here with healthy, strong babies and a strong future. But go ahead, Dr. Reynolds.
Well, that came as a surprise to me, so maybe that's why I pressed the wrong button. Even as I've got one step ahead of you, Mayor, I'm a grandfather.
Okay.
We have to look out for our grandchildren. That's the work of grandparents. And first of all, we should take care of ourselves as parents and as grandparents to make sure we are healthy. So if you have insurance, use those preventive services that you can get from your physician. If you don't know where to go, call the Genesee Health Plan and they can help you. If you don't have insurance, call the Genesee Health Plan and they can help you. If you are on strike or laid off because of the strike, whether you're union or non-union, there are places where you can help, like the Hamilton Community Health Network, like Genesee Health Systems Health Center. There are places where you can come and based on your income, you can get care. And they have what we call a sliding fee schedule based on your income. So please take advantage of these services so we can prevent those diseases and conditions that harm us. And I'm talking about smoking. Okay, I'm talking about vaping, which is as dangerous as smoking. These are things that we need to protect ourselves and our children from. The overuse of alcohol and other substances. If you come for your annual physical, get checked for the various common cancers, prostate cancer, breast cancer, lung cancer. You can come get their immunizations or vaccinations, or as some people call them, their shots. Because we have become kind of complacent because all those things, all of those diseases like polio that we used to see when I was a young person, we don't see as much now because of vaccinations. So these are the things that prevent death and disability for our children and for ourselves. And grandparents, we need to get our immunizations also so that we don't spread anything to our children. So these are just a few examples of ways that we can protect our health and the health of others. And those opportunities do exist. There are problems with access occasionally, but there are places you can go to address that.
Right, and also, while our extended broadcast going to 10 a.m., we got about 4 more minutes to go here, and we want to thank WFLT for taking my money to allow me to buy this extra additional show to be able to really express what we need to have happen in our community. But Dr. Moore, I'm going to give you the last few words to be able to make sure that we can get our allies, our partners, to be able to help support this great endeavor that we can approach here for Flint families, Flint babies, our Flint economy. This is going to happen here in the city of Flint. I want you to make sure you give your city council person a call, 766-7418. Tell them not to embarrass you. Whatever district that they may live in, you live in, whoever represents you there, don't embarrass you. by at least having a disagreement in a way where it doesn't come to using racial epithets or hurling words from using weaponized words or different things of that nature. When we talk about these things, but live in partnership, in respect for one another. And so, Dr. Mona, I give it to you. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor Neely. Thank you for your leadership. Thanks for having me on the show. Thank you, Dr. Reynolds. Thank you for the beautiful people at Catholic Charities. I'm so excited about this tiny home project. That's so innovative and not surprising that Flint is once again doing really neat, amazing, creative things. So I'm just going to close by saying, RX Kids is historic. This is revolutionary. This is something that once again is going to be sparked in Flint, that's going to be spread across the nation. And this is direct cash into the hands of pregnant moms and babies to eliminate infant poverty, to improve health, to improve equity, to improve opportunity. This is not band-aiding. This is not a program. This is not telling families, you must do this, this, or that. This is about trust and love and dignity. We need the money from ARPA to make this happen. Getting money from ARPA enables us to unlock protections for people because of the public health emergency and because this is a public health program. And getting money from ARPA from the city also sends a strong message that the city is all in for this city program. It also sends a strong message to our national funders who are waiting for the city to give money before they give money. So it's really critical that we can unlock these dollars from ARPA to give them directly to the hands of moms and babies to improve so many different outcomes. So I'm looking forward to starting the program. Check FlintRxKids.com for more information. There's also dozens of community organizations, state and national organizations that have endorsed this program.
Well, thank you. And this mayor supports the program fully. We put up a resolution more than a month ago to talk about this, to be able to share the information about the great things that this program can accomplish for our Flint families. And we have done that, but the things what we need to do is move beyond strife and the rest of government, but definitely they're there. But give them a call, 766-7418, and I'm sure that they're going to have many different excuses, but definitely information is here, and that's why we took the expense on of saying that we wanted to buy an extra half an hour to be able to express what we need to have happen inside the city of Flint. I want to thank my great friend, Dr. Larry Reynolds, a pediatrician, Dr. Mona Atisha, a pediatrician. They're really speaking to the greatest asset that we could ever have, and that's our babies. I want to thank Kristen Moore, and I want to thank Catholic Charities for being here for this extended thing. But more of all, I want to thank God. I want to thank you. I want to thank residents and those who are moving in faith. I came up with a phrase that says, Christian by appearance, atheist by action, but definitely we don't want to be that. We want to talk about what we really need to have happen in our community. We want true people walking in faith with one another of like minds, moving our community forward, the faith-based leaders, the educational leaders, and we want to make sure that we can do it together. I want to thank WFLT and Sister Dolores. Hey, she can sing. I mean, she has a beautiful voice, Vanessa. I'm going to get her just to come by my window and serenade me so I can go to sleep at night. So, so that's going to be very cultivating to me, and so I can get more rest. But thank all of you. Be positive. Stay positive. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King, it's not the words of our enemies that we will remember, but it's the silence of our friends. I love you, Mom. Thank you all. God bless you. God bless you. Thank you all, my guests. Thank you. God bless. Bye-bye.
Thank you.